Welcome to Dorset. Today we're in the Breedy Valley and we're here to shoot an autumn waterfall. Great to see you all again. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're here to shoot a waterfall and it's in the absolute height of autumn. Now, it's a bit of a bad day, really. Everywhere else, we're talking monster winds, 40, 50 mile an hour winds on the coast. The cloud, it's ridiculously grey, it's boring. I mean, it's just not a day to shoot. It's raining every 5 minutes, but we're not going to give up. We've come to shoot this waterfall. And today, these conditions will actually help us to do that. Dull conditions and waterfalls go hand in hand. You don't want the light glaring off the waterfall. Even with a polarizer, it's not quite enough to eliminate it. So dull conditions are absolutely perfect. Plus, just look at that autumn colour today. As you can see from the colours behind me, autumn, it's in full swing. It looks absolutely fantastic and we're going to try and make the most of it. Today, we're shooting an area known as Littlebredy. It's an ornamental garden right in the heart of the Breedy Valley. It's a bit of a hidden gem in Dorset, but you might well know it from a TV series called Broadchurch. It was featured in that, and it did become quite popular because of that. Hence, I don't mind naming it today. But it's a really, really beautiful place. Very, very scenic garden. Half of it's private, so you can't walk all the way around it. But the main part, the waterfall, you can. And that's what we're here to shoot today. Hopefully, we're going to get a great shot. We're going to have just all manner of shots. Although we've got one subject, the waterfall, we're going to get so many different variations on it. We're going to be able to do close-up shots of those leaves. We're going to do some nice long exposures of the waterfall itself. There's just immeasurable possibilities that we can do with this one. We might even try some focus stacking, get these leaves really, really pin sharp in the foreground. We might at the same time shoot on something like f4 and get the leaves really, really sharp, but blur out the waterfall and give ourselves a good effect. We're just going to play about, see what we can do. We've not really got a lot of time to do it because the rain is coming in again. So we're going to make the most of it and just try and get a few shots. I'm not going to try and commentate close to the waterfall because it's very, very noisy and I don't want the sound to really interfere. You could probably hear already, but we're going to try our best to shoot it and give you a full view of exactly what's going on. We've been really, really lucky and we've hit this waterfall at absolute peak time. We've had pretty much 2 weeks of solid rain, so it's really flowing nicely now. It's only a little trickle, so it's not too much. But we've also hit it at the peak of autumn as well. And just the colour on these trees is unbelievable. The leaves, they've still all got their colour where they're scattered on the floor. They've just dropped off. I mean, it's just perfect timing for it. The garden itself, it looks amazing. It's such a great place. I really do recommend you come and see it. But do remember, the garden is supported by donations. So when you come in, do leave a little donation for it. It would really, really mean the world to the local people. And it helps keep up this beautiful site. I spent a couple of days in the New Forest and it's just been chaos there. So many people have been out. It's been during half-term week. It's just been utter bedlam. The trees, they haven't really turned very well either. I mean, we've had lots and lots of sort of green tones which have just, you know, shifted slightly, but we've got none of these real sort of crimson or golden tones that you would normally find. It's just been a very tough year. So I'm really pleased to come here and get such fantastic colour just on the trees. But as you can see, the wind is already up and we're actually in a valley at the moment. It's quite a way down, so we're out of the wind. But if you were to go just a little bit higher, you'd be right in the teeth of 40, 50 mile an hour gales. It really, really is tough out there at the moment. But we've done what I think is the smart thing. We've come to the valley today to get out of the wind. Even though we've got dull conditions, it's going to be perfect for the waterfall and it hopefully will really, really help us out. Going to be doing a variety of shots today. Long exposures. We're going to shoot with possibly a stopper, just so we can get a little bit of extended exposure time. But the tree behind me has got a lot of movement and I'd like to try and incorporate that tree into the shot because it does look so beautiful. So we might have to go for something a little bit faster and make a compromise. I mean, I love the milky look of the waterfall when you do a long exposure, but it doesn't have to always be about that. Sometimes it's just about capturing the moment, and freezing water does look equally good. But we're going to play around, we're going to see what we can do and see what we can come up with. But we're going to start off from a shot looking in towards the waterfall. Rather than getting nice and close, we're just going to try and do something a little bit further away and try and capture that tree, which for me, that's really, really part of this scene. The plan that we're going to try and do at the moment is we're shooting quite a way back from the waterfall because I want to incorporate the tree. I mean, it's just been described to me by one of the locals as liquid amber, and I love that because it really, really is beautiful, and it does have those tones to it as well. But I want to try and incorporate it into the shot, but the trouble we've got is obviously there's a lot of wind and the tree's moving a bit. So we're going to try a couple of different things. We're going to start shooting at f4, so quite wide open. We're going to go on a fairly fast shutter speed so we can freeze the tree. And then we're going to play around and we're going to extend our shutter speed so we can get a bit more milky water in there and see if we can maybe combine the two. Maybe we'll get lucky in one of the longer exposures, the tree won't move, but we'll have to just have a look and play it by ear. But there is a possibility that it might end up being an exposure blend. I've said before, I'm not a fan of doing these, but with this situation, it might just be the perfect answer because I would like to have that milky water effect in there with a little bit of a longer exposure. And I really want that tree frozen because it will look so nice. But the other way we might do something is just throw it into a bit of a blur, have a nice focus blur so we're tight and really, really sharp on the waterfall, but the tree itself might even go down to f2.8 and then we can get a nice blur on that tree. So we're going to do a lot of experimentation, see how we get on and just try various shots. I mean, it's all about having fun, trying new things, see what you can do. And sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't. But unless you try, you just don't know. So we're going to give it a go. We're using a polarizer to take the edge off the water here because the scene is quite dark itself, but the water is obviously a very, very bright light source and it does reflect light. Even though the sun's not out at the moment, it's still going to reflect. It's just the nature of water. So it tends to be quite bright. Also the leaves, because they're a little bit wet, there's a little bit of light reflection on there. So we're using the case polarizer on here and it really, really does make such a difference. I'll try and show you in a second just how much difference it makes. Just giving it a twist, it just takes all the glare, eliminates it totally. Okay, so we've hopefully nailed a few captures from a little bit further away. So I'm going to try and go a little bit closer. Obviously, speaking to you is going to be a little bit hard because there's a lot of noise from the waterfall. But I'll try and show you the process and we'll try our best to make the audio sound pretty good. But yeah, we're going to try and get a few more close-in shots, letting the tree be out of shot, but it will enable us to go maybe on a slightly longer exposure. Plus, we can play around with the focus stacking on some of these leaves. So we're going to switch over. Rather than be on the 24-105, I'm going to go onto the 15-35 lens. And that also has the ability to go down to f2.8. So we can get something really, really nice and blurry in the background, maybe. So what we've done, we've got a lot closer to the waterfall and we've started to do a focus stack. Essentially, what a focus stack is, you'll shoot at a fairly wide open aperture, focusing all the way throughout the scene. So you'll focus on, for example, the first rock, then the second rock, then the third rock, and then anything that's in the background. And what you'll do is you'll blend them all in post and it will give you a really sharp photo from front to back. Of course, there is another way around it. You can shoot at a very narrow aperture, something like f16, and it will give you a good, acceptable front to back sharpness, but it never quite manages to achieve the same result as focus stacking. When you're shooting at an aperture, something like, well, f4, f8, something like that, it will give you that really, really pin sharp element all the way throughout the photo. I'll stick one up at the end and I'll let you know that it's the focus stacked one, and I'll take some that aren't focus stacked and you can judge for yourself, see what you think. When I'm shooting close up, I've tried to shoot at ISO 50, which is my best base ISO. Essentially, it will give me a much better quality finish on the film, and it allows me to extend the shutter speed a little bit. So for the waterfall, obviously, when I'm shooting a tree, then that's a bit different. I don't want to allow the movement in there, so I'm going to try and up it, and I'm going to shoot around ISO 200 for this particular shot to try and eliminate any movement in that tree. But close up, when it's just the rocks and the waterfall, that's when I'm going to go down to ISO 50 and get the best possible quality. I'll stick a couple of pictures up. Let me know what you think. it's really starting to look pretty grotty down here. We've got grey cloud moving in. There's a lot of low level cloud. I mean, it's so low, it just essentially it looks like fog. But as I say, with the waterfall, we've still got a good scene right behind us. And, you know, we've played to the strengths and to the conditions, really. And I just want to sort of say, you know, don't just give up because conditions look bad. I mean, granted, they're not ideal. I wouldn't want to shoot many other places, but just think, you know, there are other things you can shoot when conditions are dull and grey like this. Waterfalls are perfect for it. Woodland, again, perfect for it. So do, you know, consider trying to get out and get some woodland shots just before it's too late. But do remember, take a polarizer. It is the best thing ever for shooting woodland and also water. Well, I think the weather's probably drawing in now. It looks like it's going to be heavy rain any minute. So I think we're probably going to have to call it a day. But I really do appreciate you watching, and thanks to everybody who subscribed recently, and a big hello to all my new subscribers. Hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Take care.